Quarter of a century, a third of my life descends on the mount. I am made of water and things that I know are permanent.
Today we are talking with Klark Hamilton, a musician currently living in Athens, Georgia, who since around 2019 has been developing a solo project called Klark Sound. Under this name, he has already released several EPs and 4 albums, the latest released January 2025 called This Is Music. At the same time, Klark is one of the 4 members of the band Improvement Movement, with 2 albums released and a recent EP, My Team, which came out last summer. Hi Klark, how are you?
I'm great.
So here, Martin and I, we are super impressed by how much music you have released in such a short time, and considering that a lot of it is solo work. So we really love your style of songwriting, and we would like to start talking about it. We know you started playing guitar around the age of 10, and then you start writing your own songs in high school. But was there a particular musical discovery or some experience that made you want to start writing your own songs?
I didn't necessarily have like a breakthrough moment. I think I was always a pretty expressive person, and I've always liked to tinker with stuff, even insofar as that now I build my own equipment and work on fixing my own amps and all that. Like there's a very nerdy element to that. So I think songwriting came as like a natural next step to being interested in making stuff and building things and sort of becoming more in touch with myself emotionally as I got older and was introduced into communities of songwriters, especially when I moved down to Georgia. There's no one formula for anything, and I think I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that element of it. So it kind of was just a gradual shift into being like, wow, I actually really like this process, and I like writing my own music, and I've explored different ways to write songs and have gotten more in touch with who I am and my own tastes. So I don't think there was a pivotal moment so much as a slow ascent or a slow descent into the kind of obsession of continuing to make stuff. If that makes any sense. Yeah.
But then you were experimenting with recording equipment and music equipment even before starting to write songs.
Yeah, definitely. When I was in middle school, my friend showed me how to like record on GarageBand. The classic, the classic story. Like it was some old ass computer, and you like, figure out how to plug in your guitar to the computer, and then you like make.
We all gone through that, right?
Yeah, it's the same, right? It's the same, and so. At first I was really bad at doing everything, right? Like bad in the sense where I was just a novice. So I got more interested in the technical elements and wanting to get better at recording. And I would learn from people I knew, or this was like kind of at the beginning of like YouTube and all that. Nowadays, if you were starting to learn now, it's like the internet, it's almost a distraction. There's like so many people telling you this is the right way to do it. And I think I was lucky that I was able to find out a lot of stuff on my own. But yeah, they kind of happened simultaneously. Like I became interested in composition at the same time I was interested in recording, and they kind of fed into each other. And that was another reason why I was able to learn a lot of instruments quickly at a young age, especially in high school, being, oh, my friend's getting rid of his drum set, and I'm going to like take the crappy drum set and bring it to my house. Oh, my friend left his bass at my house for like 3 years. I'm going to learn the bass. Wow. Like it was just all this kind of like, I was very fortunate to have that world be around me from a young age. Honestly, every house I live in, I have my equipment, and I bring some version of it that I can fit in the house. And even right now, I work at an audio production school, and it's filled with recording studios.
I think it's interesting that beside all your technical abilities and stuff, and you make your own equipment, I think like when listening to your music, it's interesting to me that the basis of the song is like the very instrument and its tone, and it's not like technical or difficult abilities or something. It's like the instrument and its sound and the mix of all that layers.
Wow, yeah, thanks. I'm glad that it's not distracting. I guess before I got into even recording or writing music, I was into playing the guitar, like started when I was a kid, like 10. I think at the basis, like as much as I like recording and doing stuff, I really just love to play my instrument, and I love to sing, and I like the actual like physical experience of performing, the kind of like you're just in the moment doing it. So
Yeah.
I think at the basis of all my interests is really this performance element. And so as I got better at recording, I had friends, and I'd meet friends in college who'd be like in Ableton, and they'd be making loops and designing these crazy soundscapes, and I'd be like, I don't want to spend all this time on the computer like editing my work. I tried it a
Uh-huh.
little bit, but I found myself slowly developing these kind of approaches or rules that I would make for myself. They're loose rules, obviously, but it was more like I'm gonna record everything in one take, like one complete take. And for a while I was like, I'm not even gonna use a metronome. I wanted to reproduce the feeling of like everybody's a band. 1, 3, 2, 1, go. You're playing the song. And still, like before I even record anything, 9 times out of 10, I've composed the entire thing. I can kind of hear ahead what I'm going to do. And I'm kind of like thinking about it like a composer, but I don't read music very well, I should say.
Oh, that's
So
surprising.
yeah, I can like read chord charts and like I can't sight read for shit. I mean, that's a thing that guitarists, it's like a trope, we're all just
I
dumb
feel you. I
guitarists.
feel
You
you.
know what I mean? If you play guitar, you're like, okay, like I'll just read the tab or whatever. But I think that maybe that element that you hear is based on that process, and also that effort for me as a creative person I really want to preserve the experience that I have when I am playing. And then thinking like nowadays, after being an improvement movement and kind of seeing the other side of your recorded music, being like, okay, you make a cool album with your buddies, but then you got to go out and perform it. And how you make money nowadays as an artist, people buy tickets and people buy your shirts or whatever. And so you have to be able to play some version of what you made. And so subconsciously now, even when I'm going to make my own music, I'm just sitting down. I'm like, I know one day I'm going to be having to play this live. So it's like it
Yes.
just subconsciously, I'm like, okay, it just has to be something that I could go and do. Over time, I've developed this kind of through composed tendency, particularly out of just out of necessity, out of like pragmatism. But it lends itself to that. And plus, I'm a emotional person, and I try to put my how I feel into the music really too. So that is a lot easier for me personally to do that outside of the recording space without thinking of technical things, just performing, sitting with my instrument and just singing and coming up with this lyrics. And that creative process is isolated from the recording process most times.
Yeah. Do you usually start your song ideas with the guitar or also
Most of the
with other
time, yeah.
instruments? Yeah.
Sometimes piano. But it's like I say to everybody, I'm like, if you're going to hire me for a session and you really want to get the best, if you're going to pay me $200 to do 3 hours of music, it's like, you probably want me to play a guitar because you're going to get the most value. You're going to get the most value. But yeah, most things start with the guitar. It's actually funny. I'm supposed to teach like a songwriting workshop with like pickup music, like on their members forum or something. This is happening soon, and I said yes, but I haven't really broke down my process like that before.
Yeah, that's very interesting because we were going to ask you if you had any songwriting tricks that help you come up with so many ideas.
I think the songwriting, starting with an instrument, for me, the guitar, because I'm dexterous and have played a lot of jazz guitar and different music, it's like I don't have to think that much about what I'm doing. I can just listen. And then singing, similarly, I played and sang since I was a kid, like learning Led Zeppelin songs, learning how to sing it and play it. And like, it was always doing that. So
Yeah.
process is easy enough for me to stay inspired. Making art is to just allow yourself to be inspired and not judge anything you're doing in the early stages of creation, because it's kind of like, it's my favorite part, honestly, of the whole process, is like that little moment where you're like, oh shit, that's sick. Like, and you're coming up with it and it's not perfect, but you're just like, damn, like I got a cool idea. I feel like I'm an explorer out of anything, in my creative process. So
Yeah.
the guitar allows me to have that, to not think too much about what I'm doing.
At the same time, if you are writing with an instrument that you don't control at all, it sometimes allow you to be more free because you are not thinking about theory.
Yeah, or like detuning the guitar, right? I play in a lot of odd, like
Yeah.
open random things, and it becomes more of this kinesthetic experience or auditory kinesthetic experience. You're just like, I like that shape. I think that's why it's interesting when people ask you to teach it, because it's like, it's kind of not, I don't want to say it's unteachable, but it's kind of like, it's like someone asks you how to cook. It's like, well, you got to learn how to taste. You know what I mean? It's like, you want to learn how to write songs. Like, you got to learn how to listen to yourself first.
That's a good point. And also the point
Yeah.
about not judging yourself in those first stages, because that's where most people give up.
Yeah, 100%. And with anything, I mean, writing a book or starting a painting, and yeah, you got to just, I've made so many weird, bad things to me that, I mean, like all those 10-year-old, those 13-year-old, 14-year-old recordings, I have them on a computer at my house. Like it's some old bunk, really slow laptop. I could easily pull them up and be like, wow, at least how much I've changed. But it's kind of encouraging. So I think people, hopefully you can be open enough with yourself to like develop a process that allows that kind of openness to exist within you and your art.
We wanted to ask you, because you've said that you imagine like all of the arrangements in your head before getting to record. And well, you've got your band, it's not like the typical setup of drums, bass, and guitar. You've got like a flute, saxophone, vibraphone. Did you have those in mind from the beginning, or you found that people?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think a little bit of both. Or do you guys play instruments? Are you instrumentalists as well? I'm guessing. Are you
Yeah,
musicians? What do you
Yeah,
guy play?
I play piano.
guitar mostly. Yeah.
Cool. I've had different lineups, tons of different lineups. And I think when that lineup was going on, it was the first time that I had taken any music that I had made on my own and asked other people to participate
Mhm.
in reproducing it. And like I was saying earlier, where now when I sit down to make something, I can almost, because I had that experience with a band where I was like, whoa, I want the flute to do this because I met this guy who wants to sing in my band and he also plays flute. So now I think flute is an option. Oh, my buddy
Yeah,
plays, I need a percussionist because I added all these percussion tracks, but he also plays sax. So I guess now the sax is coming in to play. And I had no idea that I was ever going to hear saxophone in this song. Like the reality was that people were showing up into my life in front of me and being like, I'll play this thing. And my buddy, who the vibraphonist, Jordan Benader, she is an amazing artist in her own right and fabulous player, obviously. And she helped me learn how to do more arranging with people just by she had experience in composition in school. And so with her help, we could I learned how to hear those parts for later compositions that I made. But now I think taking that experience, this latest thing I've been working on the last couple months has been like, I'm making trio music, like bass, guitar, drums. So when I sit down to make
okay.
something, everything is like, I'm like limiting myself to that scope. Back in those
Yeah.
days, I was just like in my home studio, like I'll put organ here and I'll do all those things. And then I go to play with my band and there's like a flute and a saxophone and it became an adaptation of what I was making, which is really interesting. And it wasn't until the like Beta Cam EP that I sat down to be like, I'm writing stuff for this group. And it was very maximalist and super interesting and very layered. But like now when I think about it, I think I've just got so much experience from those sort of things that it's hard to imagine that I started out like that, honestly. Like thinking I would have maybe done it backwards if I could go again, like started as a trio and then slowly added people. But you never
Yeah, it
know.
makes more sense.
Everything's just, everybody's on the winding path to death. So it's like you just learn along the way all these funny things. I didn't realize what I had back then, until you're like, whoa, man, I had all these crazy super talented musicians that were just game
Yeah,
to play
exactly.
my crazy music and like jump in my van and drive. That was really fun.
Did you write their parts, or did you do it together?
Sometimes I wrote their parts. Sometimes I would sing like the flute part. I would do a recording of me going ba do do da da da, and then I'd send it to him and he would
Okay.
learn it. And sometimes Jordan she would learn like a vibe part around my guitar part. I would send her my guitar part and she would extrapolate of that, or I'd send her like,
Mhm.
here's what the piano did, adapt the
Hmm.
piano part. And
Hmm.
then when we all got together, we would do like sectional rehearsals and we would do just vocals. We'd develop the arrangements and do like little we called it the Bible. It was like this chart where they would have like each word and then the starting pitches, no rhythm, and it would just be like a guide to be like, hey, when this part of the song comes in, this is where everyone's note is. I always tell people that all my music is just guitar on every instrument. because like the guitar part is outlining everything that happens, really. Like if you hear it another instrument, I'm probably playing it on guitar too.
Yeah.
Like somewhere in my chordal whatever.
Clark, I wanted to ask you, now that we're talking about these like different stages at writing music, like the maximalist way and the minimalist, and I seem to notice that nevertheless the situation, every song of yours is it seems fresh and original. Sometimes it's the arrangement or I don't know, the sounding. How do you approach about being original with every song
Well, thanks.
in all situations?
I'm glad you think that. That's very kind. I think the music that I released, most of the music that I've released, probably all of it, honestly. Like for every song that I have put out and finished, there was probably 4 to 5, let's just say gross, that I didn't finish.
Mhm.
And I think the main reason was that like certain ones give me this kind of feeling of excitement. I don't know how to really describe it other than that. That is maybe to you would as a listener, Martin would say, oh, that's that original sound. That's like Klark's sound, right? That's the thing. It's his harmonic sensibility and his melodic sense. And to me, I experience that as like a sort of like true excitement and something of being like, I've never heard this band before. I want to find this band that I don't know exists. And so I make it for myself, in a certain way. I'm like chasing this conceptual idea of like, wouldn't it be sick if I could like make this, like have this cool thing and I hear this melody and I'm singing it to myself. I'm like, I just want to hear it like done, I think that cultivating that, that's like a muscle that I've trained over a long period of time. Everybody draws from influences, of course. It's hard to say that I'm like a truly original person. It's like everything I've ever listened to in my life, every show I've ever been to, I'm drawing on those things consciously or not. But I do think that I don't try to emulate music when I am writing. And this is totally cool if you do. Like, this is no dig on anybody who wants to say, like, I want to make a 60s folk rock and like sits down and it's like every song, it's like listens to a CSNY record and then it's like, I'm going to rewrite that song. Like interpolation is what they call it in like music business, where like a sync company will like get a bunch of writers together and be like, we're interpolating Stairway to Heaven. Make something that sounds not like Stairway to Heaven, but gives you the same feeling and has the same sort of shape, right? I think for me, like I really try to be referenceless when I'm writing. Just try to be honest to that excitement feeling. And in that infant stage of writing, it's like, I don't think about, oh, is this too complicated for other people? Is this too hard for me to play? Is this like, I don't think about anything except how it makes me feel right when I'm doing it. Is it making me excited? Is it making me sad? Is it making me whatever it is? And that process, as long as I stay honest through the whole thing, the ones that come out of that process, I think are pretty original or are just uniquely me, because I'm not drawing any sort of boundaries on it.
I totally agree with the thing, like making the music you want to hear and following your instincts. And
it's only that it's difficult to do so. But
it
these
is
things where you like this song on So You Go On, where the lead part is made by the piano or made the flute and the sax, and it somehow blends together, and that like brightness is,
I love that shit.
It's just stuck in my head. And like I always think like, well, the decision of mixing the flute and the sax or whatever instrument it is like, I appreciate your music so much because of that decisions of thinking about melodies and feelings, not only about styles or only instruments.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's really, it's like all methods are valid, right? Like in some ways, some of the greatest like music, like classical music that I love, like was probably made in a way that I do not understand the experience. Like a heavily kind of like technical, but like technical in the sense where like once you have complete knowledge of how music works, and you get like Ravel and you get these guys who are just going off in this world that's beautiful and harmonic and melodic and all the words. But if you find that place for yourself, or it's like, as I feel like I'm cultivating in my artistic life, it's very much, like you said, melody driven and just chasing that sort of inspiration, excitement, kind of, I don't know, it's weird. It's like a drug, honestly. It's a drug. And it is. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like
it's like a,
it's in the same way that somebody probably sits down to practice their jazz guitar and like puts on the changes loop or makes a cool loop of like four chords. And each time they get a little more in the music and they come up with these things and it's so passing through them. And it's like a process that I'm like, wow, I don't really sit down to do that. But because they're listening and responding in real time, I relate to that element. And I think with writing music, it's for me, it's the same. It's kind of just this endless iterative dance. And you're just digging at that chasing that feeling. And I also allow myself the ability to put it down, the sort of desperation that you might feel when you're like, oh, I don't have a good idea right now or something, or I don't have, everybody feels that way little bits, but I've been finding ways to, I think, manage that experience by playing other old songs that I've written or working on something completely different, like building electronic equipment or something, just something to get me out of the space of like, this needs to happen right now and this needs to do this thing. And then all of a sudden, before I know it, the next time I'm like in that other space, I'm like hearing wider. The technical element of music is really can be encouraging because it allows you new pathways to like open your physical experience to making more stuff. Like the more time you practice scales in the piano, the more fluidly you're just like moving around so you can come up with ideas. But then in the same sense, there's this kind of hindrance with, oh, like there's only so many right chord progressions I can do to stay within the key or something,
yes.
And I think that same sort of open and closeness can also happen with like listening to popular music and being like, whoa, like McGee is so popular right now. Like I got to make my guitar sound like McGee's guitar and like do this thing. And you're just like, or not. You could just listen to it and be like, whoa, that's sick. And then just like sit down and completely forget about it it's like looking at the inspiration and like influences as like having respect for it as a double-edged sword. If one headspace, it can be just like something you draw upon and be really positive about. And one headspace, it's just like a boundary that you're giving yourself. Finding ways to notice when you're doing that and then either stop and change your perspective really quickly in a moment, or just like do something else and like go on a walk, it becomes, that's why I think what makes songwriting such a lifestyle experience, becoming a songwriter or becoming an artist is like, it takes a lot of your psyche with you because you're managing all these emotional experiences in the middle of like your life,
Totally agree.
Yeah.
And how is it with improvement movement? How is that process? Do you write like collaboratively? Or?
Yeah, we do. It's really, really fun. It's nice to be around people who share similar values, different tastes, but similar values. We write collaboratively. Sometimes we'll do it in pairs. Sometimes we'll do it all together. Sometimes someone will bring in part of an idea and we'll all play it together, but it's super open communication, which is great. We're all just good friends, honestly. So we all have each other's best interests in mind and we all prioritize making good stuff. So when you have that combination, there's really no wrong answer. It's really just like, let's try this. And we're like, okay, we tried that. We're like, maybe that wasn't it. Oh, let's try this. Okay, let's try that. Oh, that's cool. Oh, let's take part of that idea that you did before and put it on there. Like this, I think the hardest part about doing collaborative songwriting is maintaining a coherent emotional idea throughout the song. And the more that you can draw upon an emotional idea that let's say we three were writing a song together. It's like, if we start to draw or pick upon some emotional thing that we all three agree on and can relate to, then like we're good. Like we can draw upon that and it becomes this collaborative, like kind of, I don't know,
That's a great start
you know
point.
what I mean?
We have never write something thinking first about the emotion we want to.
Yeah, or like a lot of times it starts from like long discussions about life. We've had lots of songs where it's just like, oh, we're talking about our other friend for like, we're like worried about our buddy or something. We just like talk about it for like an hour and a half. And then it's like, oh, let's write a song. And it's like, that's what we're writing about. You know what I mean? It's not always an easy process in the sense of like, it doesn't always come easy, but I personally find it really fun. Collaborative experiences, I've gotten it better at as I've gotten older, as you find other people that are as confident in themselves, yet not arrogant, that we can all just be like, everything's good. Like there's no limitations, there's no scarcity, there's no, you got to find that space and like keep it sacred.
Yeah, I think that what you said is interesting, and we also have here in the all the thing about collaboration in art. It's also, I think, a thing of back and forth about openness, but also like being straight to one idea or one concept. And well, Celia and I, well, so the thing is, we have a band, and we are maybe
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
familiarizing, yeah, yeah, and we are familiarized with this thing that we, for one side, we want to be like so open and songs that have very like strong changes of direction, but we also have a very mind that we want to like stick to one emotion.
Yeah, it's like maybe it's almost feels like a theme that I've been hitting on as we talk. It's cool. It's like in the same way we were just talking about like technical limitations being good and bad. It's like the same thing now with here, where you can either, like in a collaborative sense, if everybody wants to make their mark on something, sometimes that can take a lot of time and
Yeah,
kind of get in the way of like maybe the cleanest, purest emotional expression of like one person who's like, here's my idea of something. But in a certain way, the act of collaboration in a band, I think a lot of it is like learning how to like get out of the way of the things that you know are working and like take your ego out of it and just be like, whoa, this is sick. I just can't wait to participate in this super cool idea that's happening in front of me. And then at the same time, as soon as you like hear, you're like, oh, there's this thing that like I feel like it could be more compelling. Then you can be like, oh, maybe my brain can like contribute to like making this thing great because I'm not thinking about it being my bandmate who came up with the idea and who's the lead singer or whatever. It's just like this thing I want to make it great and just want to participate. And I think that that helps quell the sort of like natural technical lens that you need to have when collaborating. It can be this kind of delicate dance between all of those things at the same time. And I definitely think it takes practice. I definitely think it takes the right type of people, personalities. It's like a dance that you have to learn how to accept and be cool with. And the right people really help, you know. It's all about the people.
Yeah, it is true. Yeah, I believe when you've got the right people, a song can be much better when doing it together.
Oh yeah. I've experienced that
So,
firsthand for sure.
yeah, we wanted also to talk about your influences because, well, maybe in improvement movement you've got all different influences, but it's not the same for us. We are big nerds of all the 70s scene, especially progressive rock.
Sick.
And we would like to know if you have any progressive rock bands or related bands that have influenced you as well.
Definitely love all that. I love that kind of stuff. I mean, once you discover like classic rock, then as a guitarist, as a young nerdy guitarist, you're like, of course, you're going to go into Yes and like, into Genesis, and you're going to start digging in those things, and then eventually you'll find like Pat Metheny, and you'll like go down, and you'll find all the like, just go deep. Whenever people ask for my influences, maybe at a show or on Instagram or whatever, text me. I generally share with them. I try to say, all the stuff that you probably like too. And then this kind of more esoteric thing that I was lucky enough to come across when I was a kid. When I was younger, my same friend that showed me GarageBand, he found this blog spot where this guy would make compilations of Brazilian music that he would
Uh-huh.
rip from vinyls, and we would download it and listen to it. I love Brazilian music. I've always liked it, even before I played guitar. But there was a type of music called MPB,
Yeah.
uh, which I'm sure has become more popular in the last couple of years. Uh, a couple of albums, Bernier and Cartier had this album in 1972. It's just called Bernier and Cartier. That album is sick. And if you listen to it, you guys will be like, oh, I definitely know Klark listened to this in high school or whatever. You'll be like, oh, there it is. It's like super sick. And then this other guy's Osmore Milito. It's kind of like Novos Pianos, but like
Oh yeah.
more prog and like less like just strict rock band group, more like arrangements with this orchestra and kind of like Arthur Verkai adjacent. Like Arthur Verkai, I knew about way before it became popularized, which is awesome that he became popularized. But it was like one of those things that I knew back when I was a kid in high school. I was like, whoa, this is some crazy shit. I love this shit. And so that whole world, that MPB world, really inspired me as a young I also grew up playing Django music with my dad, like Django
Mm-hmm.
Reinhardt. So, super like it's almost like a roots music thing. It's like there's strict rules. There's kind of like a pedagogy of you learn this repertoire and you play the guitar like this and you play a certain guitar and so I think that sound, which was from the 20s and the 10s and the 20s, which was influenced by a lot of like romantic era. Like Django grew up listening to like Ravel and Debussy play in the parks of Paris, right? So he had this sort of classical approach to playing guitar, not to mention the two fingers thing. So I think that influenced my harmonic sense a lot. I've always loved, I guess the term is world music, but it's just music that's not from the States, international music, roots
Yeah.
music from around the world. And of course I
Yeah.
love like Joni Mitchell and like that kind of era of songwriting in the States and the Laurel Canyon vibe. I like Venezuelan cuatro music like the Simon Diaz and stuff like that. There's so many.
We watched an old interview from you on YouTube, and there you mentioned that at that moment you were listening a lot to the Club da Esquina album by Milton Nascimento.
Yeah.
We really love that album. And in
It's
fact,
great, dude.
the first bassist of our band was Brazilian, so he showed us a lot of music.
I'm sure, dude. Brazilians, obviously there's no competition in art, or if there is, it's goofy. But there's something in the water in Brazil, dog. They're killing it over there. I don't know what's going on, but I would love to go there. I've been there once when I was in 8th grade. I went and learned a little bit of capoeira and did some street drumming and stuff. Like learned for a short 2 weeks maybe, but it was enough for me to be like, whoa, these guys are on to something, dude. They're like power, the rhythms, it's sick, Even though I don't make like I don't make like Tropicalia or anything, I'm influenced just by the rhythm and the harmony, I think, and the density yet approachability of it. I think that's what I like about it. Is it's like there's a lot of changes and chords, and it's like, but it sounds nice. The melodies are inspiring, and you can remember it. It's like, it's almost like it's disguised as this like, you wouldn't, unless you really were like, oh, I'm going to listen to it, how like complex it is, you wouldn't notice.
Yeah, exactly.
I like
That's a very
that.
good way to define it.
Yeah, I think that for us as a band and also as a listener, it's like a big milestone for us, that music that the background is so complex, but it maybe has like a single melody or a voice. It works as a nexus for everything, and it drives you beautifully and so simply across the song. And of course, Brazilian music, it has a lot of they have maybe a special talent.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways now too, as I've gotten older, I'm noticing that because I've become kind of in that essence we were talking about, like reducing what can done in a pragmatic sense. Like if I have to be able to play this later, then I might make decisions to not add a bunch of instruments in the studio that I would have trouble reproducing without a large ensemble. In some ways, it's like that through line of wanting to like have this kind of approachable melody or something that's fun to sing or fun to listen to, and then the guitar can accompany it in a way that is like, if you want to listen to it, you're like, whoa, there's a lot going on. But if you don't, you can just be like, wow, it accompanies the voice so well. I think it's like I'm reducing that whole thing that maybe as a younger artist I would have spread out across a lot of different things. Now it's becoming more like I'm trying to just do it with my voice and the guitar, and then add a rhythm section in a smaller, it's like my minimalist sentiment has gone into the arrangement side, and the maybe more complex or maximalism is like not disguised, but I'm just trying to be really intentional with where I put that type of energy that I like, and what I'm interested in when I go see a band live, and I'm like, wow, that song was so great and so fun to listen to, and like, damn, they were like slightly low-key shredding, but it wasn't about shredding, it was just like, wow, that was so cool. That's cool that you guys had heard that already. I'm glad that I'm being consistent, in my taste.
Yeah, but now that you mentioned about the live music, we also wanted to know what importance you give to live music, and like what is special for you from playing live. What do you try to get from your audience when you're playing live?
There's different, you go to a different show to get different experiences. I remember going to Tim Henson, right? Is,
Oh
Tim
yeah, the
Henson?
one from
He's like
Polyphia.
Polyphia, right. My girlfriend likes Polyphia. If we got free tickets somehow that through a friend, I was getting rid of a ticket. I went to see Polyphia, and it was crazy because it's like, I'd like respect them and it's cool. It's not really what I would listen to. But I went there and it was like the energy was just like crazy. It's like shreddy stuff, but then like the beat is still just like, it's kind of like dance almost. Like there's this weird element of it. And
Yeah.
everyone's just like, yeah. So you're like, that's like what they are giving to the space, right? And I've noticed that for myself when I play solo, playing solo the last year has given me a good insight into something that I think I try to do as a performer. I think I'm pretty good at, I like being able to make a crowd silent over something pretty. A challenge to that is that sometimes you want to go to a show and just fucking party, like the ecstasy of that experience for people going there, like me at Polyphia, it was like fun as hell, But I think for me right now, like being able to connect with an audience through like a beautiful melody and words that are meaningful and an accompanying part, this last year, playing some of my songs was like when people come up and they're like, man, that song made me cry. I felt this way about it. That was really touching. Like I really like that experience because a lot of times the music that I is coming from that space for me, So it feels like I'm effectively transmitting the emotional experience that the therapy of me writing the songs that I do sometimes, writing a note to myself or to some friend of mine or whatever, when I can actually successfully get across to people via the performance, it feels like I'm contributing to making the world a better place. And that's a nice feeling. To the flip side of that, I also like when I make, like in that era when the band had the vibraphone and the thing, and we were doing all this stuff, there was an element of it where I wanted to almost like scare people with like how much was going on. And like that it was just like this kind of like, whoa, like I don't even know how to move to this, but it's making me want to move. And it's like this crazy, like the end of that song of mine called What is Progress? There's like this
I was thinking about it.
we play that live and it'd just be like, this kind of like, but it wasn't like scary. It wasn't scary in like a punk, like we're all in the mod. When you go to a punk show or that Polyphia show, maybe less Polyphia, maybe definitely like punk or hardcore shows, it's like so much about it. It's almost the audience is the band. Like you're giving the audience, the band is playing something that's like approachable and like loud and fucking heavy, and then the band is the crowd is moshing, and it's just like this environment that's like, it's really symbiotic. I've noticed that for me, for some reason, even when I make that song What is Progress and play the end, it's like there is a little bit of the whole crowd is being like, what's like, oh my god, like they're watching this spectacle and it's influencing them, but it's not as much of a collaborative thing all the time. I used to tell my band at that point that I really just want to be like a hand, like an open hand like this to people to be like, check it out. You can like hear things this way and you can just be, and you can let this into your experience. You don't have to think about it or understand it. Just be in this crazy space with me because I know that it's a little crazy. But for me, I'm like on stage, like, oh my God, I can't believe we're pulling it off, And there's like, so both sides of those things, the like quiet moment where I can transmit an emotional idea. And then the other one where it's like the kind of more raucous, but I'm transmitting this emotional idea that's more like, just like crazy eyes, that I think both of those are what I really get out of live. And the older I've gotten, the more I've learned how to wield both of those experiences as a performer, as a writer. And it goes without saying that like the more you play live and the more you get in front of people and the more you do your act, it influences what you do and how you write and how you record and how you do everything. I played 125 shows last year in 2025, which is a lot of shows, the most I've ever played. And it's changed me in a way that I think is not like, oh, it's changed me. I'm like, oh, I'm gritty. It's more just like, it's already influencing the way that I approach songwriting and imagining how this translation is going to happen. So I think out of live, those are the things that I get is like the education, subconscious education, and then learning how my music translates on that spectrum between the pin drop and the freak music moments, which I like both. I like the dichotomy and finding that space in the middle and the handshake between them.
And now, Klark, you said that you discovered this ability of yours when you're playing your solo music, just you and your guitar. So we wanted to talk to you about this change right after you end the mixing of What is Music. You go through this change, this kind of new phase of This is Music,
Yes,
which is
like
more naked,
the
more.
complete opposite. Like you've got
Yeah,
What is
right.
Music that is like full color cover, full color songs, a lot of arrangements, and then you've got Black and White, This is Music, acoustic, played live, and like literally just music, a guitar and your voice, and that's it.
And it's interesting because it's so close.
I feel like maybe there's like some kind of fatigue after like a long and demanding process, like making What is Music album, that makes you want to do just music. But maybe you just wanted to try something new. I don't know.
I mean, you're definitely right that there is the process of making a full record, especially me playing all the parts, doing a lot of the editing, and then mixing that it's a lot. It's a lot of energy and a lot of decisions and a lot of stuff. Yeah, you know what? This is actually, it kind of ties into a lot of things we've been talking about with pragmatism, being a band leader, taking your music from the recorded environment into the performance environment. And I made the first record, What is Music, in my normal way that I would do it, writing everything, tracking everything. And at the time that it was released, I was kind of like at the tail end of my lineup, the lineup that I had been using for a while.
Mm-hmm.
If you notice, there's like really not that much vibraphone on the record. There's like not that much woodwinds and stuff. So the band, and I was thinking like, man, I really want to like try to play this music in the way that it sounds more like on the record. Like I wanted to play piano on some songs. Like I wanted to, and to do that, I was like, well, now I need another guitarist and I need backup singers because there's a lot of stuff that you can't sing and play at the same time. Like playing the song Movie Theater, which is so fun.
Yeah.
Is it's a lot to ask and to ask another guitarist friend to sing. Like if you're sing and play, be like, hey, can you learn this song? Can you be my rhythm guitarist? It's like, okay, it's this crazy thing, and then you also have to sing this crazy thing at the same time. It's just like it's almost easier to just get two people. So I think what really happened was that I made that record and I wanted to perform it, and I noticed that there was just this huge barrier to like taking it to the live space. It was required a lot of demand from people. It would have, if I in a perfect world, I would have had a lot of money to pay a bunch of people, but then I would just be paying a bunch of people to have this big band. And so I was like, okay, it was a little frustrating in that sense. I was like, I did some really cool shows and I had some really like great, a couple of like big blowout, like opening, release show and all this stuff. And and got this big band together and did all this stuff. But there was a little bit of like me feeling like what I was doing was lost in translation. The music existed so well on the record as this like kind of like the pinnacle of what I could do on my own, recording myself, like technically, sonically, arrangement wise. It was just like I was going for it in that space. And I had spent 3.5 years like developing that process, not necessarily writing and recording that record, but just like between the time that I released Artifactory and was like making like songs at my house. It was just like I was literally in the same house, like moving rooms and like learning how to build treatment and like becoming a better engineer and all this stuff. So the What is Music album, it named that partially because I was just like, this is just like me this is like an example of all of just what my life has been about, which is just getting better at this process. And then I turn around to be like, okay, I want to share it with the world, but I am having a hard time making it into a band. It almost exists solely in my world, like in the world that is me being obsessed with it and recording everything and tinkering and just like something that only someone who wrote it and made it and did it would like get behind. At the same time, I was starting with Improvement Movement, and I was noticing how the four of us got together. Each of us was equally invested in making something good. Each of us was like came from a recording background and performance background, and like music was our life. And whenever we got together and played songs, it just sounded fucking sick. Like within the fourth time that we did it, it was just like, wow, we're all good singers. Like this just sounds good. Of course, we had a lot of work to do and a lot of things to learn and practice, but it was just like very effortless compared to me getting a band together and learning my much more complex arrangements, right? So anyways, all that to say is that at the same time that I was doing all this writing all the songs for What is Music, like I'm always writing songs by myself on my acoustic guitar. Mm-hmm. I told myself, I was like, I need to be able to do something on my own. having a band is really cool, but I want to have music out that represents what I can do on my own, because I want to be able to play a show, just me and a guitar, and I want to see if I can actually pull it off. I want to see if I can actually make something compelling enough that doesn't need anyone else, that doesn't need any other layers, that doesn't need anything except for just like, this is just a guy. This is just what I can actually do, like on my own. And so, in that, carrying that essence through it was how the whole process kind of came together. Then I talked to my coworker, Charlie Chastain, who is a good friend of mine and a great recording engineer and mastering engineer and mixing engineer. And he was just like, I'll just record you, just like book the session, let's do it. And then I remember going and doing it the first time, and I was like, holy shit, it can be this easy. I can literally show up to the studio and just record the song that I practice and then leave, and it's fucking pretty much done. Like, oh, you can mix it in like 1 hour, because it just, I mean, we built like a chamber reverb. I drilled some holes through the floor and like, made like, took a big room that we have and turned it into a reverb chamber. There was like some technical, like, of course I had to fuck around and find out, but that was like, the two processes were so different. The results were really different. The like originality, I think, was still coherent in terms of like, oh, this is definitely Klark's music. It was kind of a weird, I don't want to say it was an ego death, but it was definitely just like it represented a new beginning for me in how I approach like why I'm recording music and like what it's for. Being that like now as a member of a band that makes money, like makes that a lot of my living comes from performing music and touring on music. It's like, it's hard for me to go into something and just be like, I'm just making this to be reproduced on speakers. I'm like, I feel like I want to make something I can actually play and that translates to the live space. And that between the what is music and this is music process was how I learned that, and even the results spoke for themselves. Like, I connected with more people emotionally than I think I ever probably have on a record with
that is true.
Like, more people have reached out to me and been like, I love your album and I listen to it all the time. And it's like, partially because it's just like, it is easy listening music. Put it on in the background and like have dinner or something. Some of my other music is like, you got to listen to it. You got to sit down and put on headphones and like get into it in order to really appreciate it. I'm proud of both of them for different reasons. And like, now I actually feel like I feel very like free in my ability to just be like, I just want to make shit that I like. And whether it comes out like a singer-songwriter thing or whether it does this, like, I could do it all whenever I want, and they all kind of can just exist simultaneously. You have to be open and allow your priorities to shift. And like, if you want something new to happen, you have to let something die. But yeah, to answer your question, the long-winded answer was, I wanted to be able to play something live that sounded like my recordings. And the easiest way to do that is to just make it the same thing.
Yeah. And are you working on new projects now? Will you be doing full arrangements again? Or what is your approach now?
Well, no, my approach right now is I am definitely working on new stuff. I'm always writing new stuff. I finally have a home studio again, so I can make demos. But I think my next goal right now is going to be a combination of like solo music and also this trio thing that I've had in my mind for a while.
Okay.
Next week, I have a gig where I'm going to play a bunch of new music trio stuff. I've actually got a rehearsal tomorrow. But like that song In the Body, I asked the guys, can you just learn this? Like, let's play a trio version, just because I think it would sound cool. And I can already do such compelling solo version of it. And I remember my buddy John Gregg, who's playing drums, he was like, oh, I'd love to play drums in this song one day. He said that like months ago. And I remember that, and I was like, I'm going to ask you to do it. It's just like a more reasonable thing. Like, I think that the world that we live in, where everybody can record everything all the time and you can use the computer to layer stuff, is so sick, and it makes some really compelling music. If you're interested in playing live, there's a lot of, everybody knows a band that like is a big band that you hear their record and then you see them live and you're like, like it was cool, but like it was completely different. And they were like, maybe not bad is the right word, but you're just like, I expected it to translate the way that it did on the record, and it didn't. It's completely different. And that's cool and everything, whatever. But I think for me personally, I've noticed that like I get a lot more fulfilled when they're closer. And so now it means I have to be honest with myself and limiting myself to, in the recording and writing process, to be like any song that I make for a trio, I should still be able to play as a solo artist, and it should be compelling. But yeah, the trio is my next kind of like, I've got my eyes set on that. It seems interesting. It seems inspiring. It seems fun. You know, personnel wise, it's easier to have a band of 3 people than it is of 11, like I was doing
For
sometimes,
sure. Yeah.
as you probably know. And, you know, like everything, there's like boundaries that you can move and shift. So I'm not like a hard, there can only ever be 3 instruments on the track. But there is a kind of thing where it's like, it should work with you, because I want to be able to make my canvas have 3 colors and you could still hang it in a museum and be like, nice, dude, sick minimalism. You know what I mean? It could be like, it could be a lot of color.
Yeah.
You know, it could be a lot of it could be a crazy idea, but it's like, there's still 3 colors. Like, that's pretty cool. Yeah. It took me forever to learn this. I feel like I'm a slow learner. I think music was always something I went to for myself. It was an insular experience. It was like an emotional processing tool for me. So now growing up and like, you know, managing how it is related to your identity and your socialing, how you are as a social person and all this stuff is like just this endless challenge of like not trying to take yourself too seriously, not trying to attach too much self-worth to your art or to anything, and just trying to be a good person and just be like honest and true and have a good time, and, you know, manage the kind of natural existential and kind of dread that happens from just living a life, you know.
It's interesting that you reflect that also on the lyrics of your songs, because even we may not understand completely everything you sing because we are not native speakers, but
Sure.
even though like your lyrics and the way you use them like as a way of getting to know yourself better, they really touch us. And I guess people tell you this at gigs because, like, I don't know many artists who reflect on the meaning of music and the meaning of music as a way to become a better person in their lyrics.
Yeah, I think that, you know, lyrical voices, like your poetic sense as an artist and so many people ask how how I write lyrics. And I'm like, honestly, it took me a long time to get to this place of feeling like I at least know how to start. Doesn't mean I'll always make good lyrics, but I can at least like know where to start. I'm like fascinated by people who can write these like really detailed, almost novels or fictional things. Like I don't, my personal experience with writing lyrics and poetry is much more internal. It's much more like you're saying. It's like I'm truly reflecting on my life and the experiences I've had or people that are close to me that I've had conversations with in real life about, you know, like even y'all, I'm sure I could like write a song about you guys in some sort of like, you know, like it's very much like a real lived experience. And I find that just when I start doing that, I don't like, it doesn't feel dishonest and to do that, because it is something that I think about, and writing the songs does help me process it. And like for better for worse, like there's a lot of honesty in there, and there's a lot of probably things that I might look back on and be like, wow, I used to think like that. That's really interesting. Like I've changed in this way. I think a lot of my music is like a diary, you know, an open diary.
Now, Clark, that you say this thing about music as your personal process, and what is your relationship with being an artist in the social media world? I can see on Instagram that you post like so naturally a lot of demos or working stuff. What is your relationship with social media as an artist?
You know, I mean, I was actually very touched that you said, I think it was you, Celia, you said you seem very approachable online, which to me, I was like, thank God. I'm not trying to be or not. Social media is like a kind of taboo word. And like, in an ideal world, would we all have to manage it and do it? It's like, probably not. It'd be nice if we didn't have to do it. At the same time, maybe we wouldn't be talking right now. Right. Maybe I wouldn't have made the connections that I would. Maybe I wouldn't have certain people in my life that I need to know, you know, that I enjoy. So it's a tool like anything else, of course. And I've found that for me as a person, I feel more genuine when I'm really just honest and open about what I'm doing. Just being like, here's this cool thing that I did that I'm excited about, and like, take it for what it is. I think my relationship with it is I'm trying to give it less power in my world, where I'm trying to, on a personal level, give it less value to like who I am as a person and how other people view me. And I'm just trying to express like things that make me excited about what I'm doing as an artist or as a person, because it just feels like it makes it more the values that I can have as a person in real life, I can have on the platforms. And that just builds less resistance for my experience with it. I really admire and am intrigued by bands and people who like have the sort of mysterious social media account with like the cool picture, and they know how to like make it branded in this way. And like, you know, there's a part of me that'd be like, wow, maybe that would be really helpful for me, you know, to do that. But I also know about myself, and I've learned that like those things don't really come that naturally to me. A lot of times those people just disconnect completely from the platform. They're like, oh yes, this is my Instagram account, and it's just like kind of hip and cool and like, you know. And I'm more like, that's cool that you can give it no power like that. For my process is more like, this is me, I'm just a guy, haha, doing stuff, here it is. I think that helps me on a personal level feel less attached to it. And it also seems to promote people that have like-minded sentiments, you know, like the people that are curating this sort of more mysterious thing. Like, honestly, those are not the kind of people that even find my music and find what I'm doing. It's important to me that I appear approachable, because that's what I'm trying to do in my real life. I'm trying to be a friendly person. I'm trying to be helpful. I'm trying to be honest and open. I don't want people to think that I'm like trying to show off or like, you know, make people think that like, maybe a younger version of me would have been more like, I got to shred guitar and show everybody that I'm so good and that I like have put in all this work. It's like, I don't care about it anymore. I don't care. I don't care if I suck or not. I just want to make something I think is cool and like that I enjoy and makes me feel like the world is a smaller place and that there's more beautiful things in the world. So social media is tough, man. It's designed to make you feel bad about yourself in a lot of ways. So you have to kind of find a methodology and a practice that takes some of the puts the power back in your own hands, you know. And like Snoop Dogg said, just try to have a good time with it. It's just social media.
Yeah, but it's great because like you take this approach with social media because it kind of helps you manage it, and the same at the same time with your lyrics, you write about your own life because you use it like a sort of diary or self therapy, but it's great because at the same time it's inspiring for others, and
That's
it
my
wouldn't
favorite
be
thing. If there's nothing else, you know, I could be an underground musician for my whole life, which might happen, but as long as I can just, if people listen to my stuff and they go, damn, that's inspiring, like I want to do something cool, you know, like, wow, you could really, that's just a nice, I like the idea of that makes me feel like I'm doing it for the right reasons internally, you know. So I'm
Well,
glad
that's
that it comes across like that.
yeah, that's totally the case for us. It's so inspiring to do next up, to keep writing. That's totally our experience with your music. So thanks you,
Thank
man.
you. Yeah, you're welcome anytime. I like to be an open book about it, you know, and partially because like in some ways like inspiration, it's just maybe kind of corny. It's like, you know, when like you walk by and there's like a piece of trash on the ground, and then you look at it and you're like, I really should pick that up and like put it in the trash can. But a lot of times you just like walk by it and just like trash over there. I feel like in some ways inspiration is the time that you actually pick it up and put it in the trash. It's like that little bit of extra work that doesn't come from anywhere and really doesn't really cost you anything. You just bend down and pick up a thing, right? But like something that day was just like, you know what? I will pick up the trash. You know what I mean? Like just that little tiny like hope or something, you know, like true
That's
hope.
interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's what music gave me in my life, right? It gave me a feeling of being like, I wake up every day and I feel stoked because I want to do this thing. Obviously, like some days I'm like, oh man, there's a lot of shit going on, and like there's a lot of terrible things going on in the world all the time, and there's a lot of suffering. But there is this like, well, I know that I can like make something beautiful and share it to people. And like when someone hits me up and goes like, man, I listened to your song and it made me feel really excited or happy, or I just jammed to it in my car. Or when someone was like, people have told me they're like, man, I was like really in a dark place, and like listening to your music really made me feel not in a dark place. I'm like, dude, that's what it's all about. Right there is sick. So if nothing else, yeah, I hope to be inspiring and just pass the torch on to other people to like live their best life and to become kinder. You know, that if you live an inspired life, you can like be nice to other people. You can pick up the trash in the street. Maybe we can make the world like less scarcity mindset. Maybe we can have better immigration policies in the States, whatever it is, just some sort of fucking just hope healing. It's a healing process, you know? So I'm glad that it comes across, and that is one of my main goals, if maybe not my baseline goal as an artist, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely getting it. So, well, we just wanted to ask you if you want to announce any upcoming shows that you have.
I think the only show is I have a show next Friday, February 13th in Athens.
With the trio.
With the trio. I don't have any other big shows coming up. I'm kind of in this really free and open transition period with Improvement Movement taking up a lot of my time. Me like working on new music and still having my, you know, I put out What Is Music and This Is Music so close together, and it's so much music to go through. Like it's still percolating through everything. I'm in an exploratory phase. So I don't have any other big shows on the map. Other than that, Improvement Movement's got a record coming out this year in the summer sometime.
Great.
So that'll be cool. It's going to be really cool. We're gonna go hard. We've been going hard as fuck. Yeah, that's it.
Do you think there's any possibility that you go touring out of the US?
With Improvement Movement or with me, I'm not
Whatever.
sure. So I think it's very possible that I don't know about this year. Very possible this year. I mean, we actually almost did do a Europe thing, but the money didn't work out. Like it's timing and money, you know, it's this kind of weird, but we definitely have agency connects, and we have a team that can work within those markets. I would hope that we can, and if not, I would guess within the first half of next year, probably like as part of the album release tours. I would love to get over there. I'd love to meet you guys in real life. I'd love to just I love that shit, dude. I would love to go over there. I've only ever been to Croatia, and I guess that's the only place in Europe I've been. Appreciate you guys a lot. Thanks for having me on. Good luck with everything.
It was a privilege having this talk. So
thank you so
likewise. Much. Quarter of a century, a third of my life descends on the mount. I am made of water and things that I know.